A picture-perfect housewife, a forbidden romance, and a neighbor's son who couldn't let go. What started as a thrilling secret spiraled into an uncontrollable obsession, leading to betrayal, violence, and a murder that shocked an entire community. How far would someone go to keep their secrets hidden? Jessica Mitchell seemed to have it all: a loving husband, two adorable kids, and a cozy home nestled in a quiet suburban neighborhood. To anyone looking in, her life was the epitome of perfection. But behind closed doors, Jessica's marriage had grown stale. The spark that once lit up her relationship with David had faded into the monotony of routine. She craved something more, something exciting, something dangerous. That thrill came in the form of Ryan Carter, the 21-year-old son of their new neighbors. Ryan was everything David wasn't anymore: young, vibrant, and full of life. Jessica noticed him first while gardening, catching his shy but flirty glances. One day, he offered to help her carry groceries, and their connection was instant. It started innocently enough: a lingering look, casual compliments, and playful banter. But soon, their interactions grew more charged. It wasn't long before stolen moments turned into secret rendezvous. Jessica convinced herself that the affair was harmless, just a fling to reignite her passion for life. But for Ryan, it was more than that. He was captivated by her, the older woman who made him feel special, mature, and desired. Jessica thought she was in control, but Ryan's growing infatuation was like a fire spreading out of control. As the affair deepened, Jessica began taking risks, meeting Ryan in secluded spots, texting him late at night, and inventing excuses to her husband. She believed no one would ever find out. But secrets have a way of unraveling. Before we dive deeper into this chilling story, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Your support helps us bring more gripping tales like this one. What do you think happens next? Let us know in the comments, and stay tuned. It's about to get much darker. Jessica's carefully constructed world was unraveling at an alarming pace. Ryan's obsession was no longer just her problem. It was becoming impossible to hide. One evening, David came home earlier than expected and found a note slipped under their front door. It read, "You can't keep lying forever, Jessica." Her heart pounded as she scrambled to dismiss it as a prank, claiming neighborhood kids must be playing a joke. David, though skeptical, let it go. But Jessica knew she was running out of time. Ryan, meanwhile, was growing more unstable. He began showing up in places Jessica frequented: her favorite coffee shop, the gym, even her children's soccer practice. Jessica confronted him, begging him to stop, but his response chilled her to the bone. "You belong to me, Jessica. If I can't have you, no one can." His eyes, once warm and playful, now burned with a dangerous intensity. Jessica's fear turned into paranoia. She changed her routine, avoided Ryan's house at all costs, and even considered telling David the truth. But before she could decide, her nightmare escalated. One morning, she walked outside to find her car keyed with the word "liar" carved deep into the paint. Jessica's stomach dropped. She immediately assumed it was Ryan's doing. But he denied it, calling her in tears and swearing he'd never do anything to hurt her. For a fleeting moment, she believed him, but the nagging doubt wouldn't go away. Things took an even darker turn when Jessica received another anonymous message. This time, it came with a photograph of her and Ryan kissing, taken through a window. Whoever was sending these threats wasn't just watching. They were dangerously close. Jessica realized her affair wasn't just a secret anymore. Someone was pulling the strings, and they were ready to destroy her life. The tension between Jessica and Ryan reached a boiling point one stormy night. David had gone out of town for a work trip, leaving Jessica home alone with the children. The house was eerily quiet, the storm outside adding to the unsettling atmosphere. As Jessica prepared for bed, she heard a knock at the door. She froze, her heart pounding in her chest. She knew who it was. Ryan stood on the other side, drenched from the rain, his face pale and his eyes wide with desperation. "Please, Jessica," he begged. "I need to talk to you. I can't live without you." His voice cracked as he reached out to her, but Jessica hesitated. She had warned him before to stay away, but his presence was now an overwhelming force she couldn't ignore. Against her better judgment, Jessica opened the door just enough to let him in. She could feel the fear creeping up her spine as he stepped inside. Ryan was no longer the charming, youthful man she'd first met. The obsession had twisted him into someone unrecognizable. His words were frantic, and he started pacing the living room, his frustration building with each passing second. "You promised me," he shouted, his voice rising. "You promised we'd be together." Jessica's attempts to calm him down fell on deaf ears. In a fit of rage, Ryan turned toward her, accusing her of lying to him, manipulating him, and using him for her own pleasure. The accusations became more erratic, his anger growing as he approached her, shaking with fury. Panicked and desperate to defend herself, Jessica grabbed the kitchen knife from the counter. "Stay away from me, Ryan," she warned, her voice shaking. But he ignored her warning, lunging forward in an unpredictable burst of aggression. In the chaos that followed, the knife plunged deep into Ryan's side. He staggered back, his eyes wide in shock, before collapsing to the floor. Jessica stood over him, breathless, the knife still in her hand, realizing with horror what she had just done. Jessica stood frozen, her hands shaking as she stared down at Ryan's lifeless body. The room was eerily silent, except for the sound of her own ragged breaths. Blood pooled around him, seeping into the carpet. For a moment, it felt like time had stopped, her mind racing, her body paralyzed with shock. What had she done? How had things escalated so quickly? She had only meant to protect herself, but now the consequences of that one impulsive act would haunt her forever. In a panic, Jessica dropped the knife, her hands slick with blood. She scrambled to dial 911, but the weight of what was happening sank in. If she called, the truth would come out. The affair, the lies, everything. David would never forgive her, and she would lose her children. She hesitated, the phone trembling in her grip. But in the end, fear overtook her, and she dialed the number. 911, what's your emergency? The operator's voice came through, calm and steady. I've been attacked, Jessica stammered, her voice barely above a whisper. My neighbor, he broke in. He attacked me, and I had to defend myself. She hung up before she could finish, her heart pounding in her chest. She quickly wiped her hands on a towel, attempting to clean up the blood, but it was everywhere, on her clothes, the floor, even the walls. She couldn't stop shaking. When the police arrived, they found Jessica in a state of shock, claiming she had acted in self-defense. But the evidence told a different story. Ryan's phone, found at the scene, was filled with messages from Jessica, each one more intimate than the last. Her lies were uncovered, and the truth came crashing down. The trial was brutal. The affair, the obsession, the murder, all laid bare in front of the jury. In the end, Jessica was convicted of second-degree murder. She was sentenced to 20 years in prison. What began as a secret affair had destroyed everything she held dear, a life ruined by deception, obsession, and one fatal mistake.